Hello and welcome to Farming Simulator 19. I'm Andy and this is the Let's Play on Buy Real Farm. And I have a surprise. So first, I've finished harvesting all the canola and I'm currently planting some cover crops because I'm waiting for the potatoes to grow to be ready for harvest. And I've been talking a long time about buying a new tractor and I finally decided to do it because I found a good one. I sold off my old tractor, a 780, for about $5,000 less than I bought it for, so that's a pretty okay price and realistic. I did buy a tractor with quite a few less hours. It had 4,098, I believe, when I bought it, and it's a 7230, so it has pretty decent amount of horsepower. It's basically a good upgrade of the tractor we had, and it's pretty sweet. So 7230. I did buy it for a bit 80. Well, in total with the Starfire 6000 and all the other stuff that installed on it, and then it did cost me about 88 grand, so quite a lot of money. I did get some money from the other one though, but we have a debt of 344,650. It's our current debt. But it's, I mean, this tractor will last us quite a few years. It doesn't have a ton of hours on it, so this is a good upgrade. But currently we are planting cover crops. So we're planting oil seed radish. You can see I installed Pro Seed, but since we're planting oil seed radish, we're not gonna sort of use the Tramline function in it. We don't need that. But for future reference, when we're gonna plant stuff, we can use the Tramline in it. That's good. I'm looking forward to seeing if it works with the potato planter. It should work with the potato planter, so that's interesting. Must remember not to sell off all the potatoes I have. I must save some potatoes for the planting season next year. So what I'm going to do is, next year is also last year before we can go totally ecological, or well, before we can sell stuff as ecological. I'm going to plant most of the potatoes. I'm going to leave a few of the fields in fallow. Haven't really decided on exactly which fields, but I'm going to plant a few fields of potatoes anyway, and a few fields in fallow, and then the season after that we're gonna go just let's see, gonna set up. The season after that we're gonna go totally ecological. I don't know why this is 690, but I think 690 is a bit wide. But as I said, so next year I'm gonna do potatoes and then fallow on a few fields, and then after that we'll go totally ecological. Or well, not totally. Then we'll just, God, I'm misspeaking all the time. We're gonna go fallow and on some fields, potatoes on the rest, and then harvest that. And the year after that we're gonna go all canola, because we're gonna try to make some money back, and canola seemed to be the way to go. If you're gonna go ecological, it's a really good income. Let's check what the income for the farm is for ecological potatoes, because I think that's a little bit higher than regular potatoes. doesn't really matter because we're not going to sell potatoes at the first year anyway. I'm thinking we're going to stick to canola. It's a bit of a gamble. I don't know if you would actually do that in real life, just invest totally in canola, but it's one way of doing it. I did also fertilize my fields once over. So when we cultivate the oilseed radish into the ground, that will be set 2 levels of fertilization. Which I think is pretty good. I was really happy when they released the Pro Seed. I think Wobster does some amazing mods for Farming Simulator. You can find a link in the description as always. What else? I have this field. 1, 2, 3 fields left to plant with oilseed radish. Then the next thing is to harvest the potatoes, and after harvesting potatoes I'm gonna plant those fields with oilseed radish, of course. Yay. Well, I like it when I can drive in a straight line. Yay. So I think the last episode was a quite short one, sorry about that. Or maybe it was good to have a short episode, I don't know. But it was short anyway. I usually do the headlands around from the outside because it's just easier, and then because I keep missing stuff if I do it from the inside, and then I'll do the rest from the inside. It's probably cheating. I should do it the other way. No, not the other way around. I should do it from the in-cab. Wonder if this. I think there is a mod somewhere that lets you only view stuff from the inside. The mods make you sure you can't spawn around and that sort of stuff, but I don't have that installed. That would be make it a little bit more realistic though. But I'm pretending my fiance is driving me around between stuff, picking me up at the field and that sort of stuff. I did get quite a good income from the canola. We could go check that out. I'm just gonna turn around here. If we go out to our Excel document, I'm gonna show you. So here we go. So I did sell 131,000 liters, 364, which made me 30,674. So that's good. A couple of bales of that, so 33,000. And the wheat, of course, is 33,267 is the total so far this year. So, and we'll add potatoes to that. And also, I don't know if we'll get to the same amount of money we did that year, but hopefully, well, we'll see. Hopefully we'll make some money off this year. Look, I remember to bring it back to the game. I've been thinking about other stuff, like how many times you should run over the field with seeder and cultivators and plows and everything. And I think that's one of the things that is a little bit the seed preparation is a little unrealistic in the game, because you could just run it over with a cultivator and then plant potatoes, and that's not really how it works, right? I think if you plant potatoes, you probably need to prepare the seedbed a little bit more than that. If you look at YouTube videos, you can see them running over it with power harrows and deep rippers and all sorts of things. So I'm thinking that that's one of the areas which make this a little bit unrealistic. And if I want to make it more realistic, I should probably run over the fields a few times before planting. I think cover crops like this is probably okay, because you want to plant stuff, even though, I mean, you want to plant, it doesn't matter if there's some residue left, because the cover crops will grow up. And I actually saw a nice video yesterday where it's talking about a different way of harvesting wheat. So instead of having a traditional header on the combine, they had sweeper or something. Don't quote me on the correct term, but it was basically it left the whole stem standing, so all of the straw was left, and it only took the kernels, not even the kernels, it just stripped off the actual grain from the stem, or the whole kernel, everything. So everything was left there, and then they planted not canola, soybeans. So they left everything standing, and then they ran over it with a plant drill, planting soybeans. And after that, they could so the soybeans were actually growing up in between the stems of the old wheat that was standing there, and that meant it kept most of the moisture in there, even though it's a warm part of the United States, and it kept protecting the soybeans from the wind and that sort of stuff. So actually really cool. So one way of making it more efficient growing it was to change what order you plant things in and have some sort of thought about it. So I thought that was really quite amazing. You could plant soybeans after winter wheat, and the winter wheat was basically kept as a way to protecting the soybeans growing up and keeping the moisture in the ground. So really cool. Especially I think that's really important if you look at the way global changes and global climate is changing everything. We need to figure out new ways to do this, because it's gonna get warmer. That's the only thing we know for sure. Even though some people think that it's a hoax, it's not a hoax. Look at what's happening in Siberia during this summer. So, and there's big issues on that one. It's hard not to get repairs. We need to reduce our carbon footprint by a lot. You can think what you want about that, but that's just the way it is. I didn't believe actually in global warming. I feel like an idiot saying that now, but I didn't believe in it. I thought it was like, how do you, because it was my way of thinking about it was that my issue with it was that how do you differentiate between, it was a statistical point of view, that how do you know all weather fluctuates, of course, and how do you know it actually fluctuates up? How do you know that degrees are increasing and it's not just natural fluctuation that's occurring? But as it seems that most experts in the world actually reason about this is true, and they can argue with it from a scientific point of view. I'm not gonna I was wrong, basically. I think there's too much evidence of the contrary to say that that is just natural fluctuation. So we need to do something. And I'm thinking about how to do something. So I'm thinking the next car I should buy should probably be, if it's not electrical, it should be hybrid. I would like to have a electrical, but what I could do actually is to buy an electrical. When my kids start actually going to school, I should buy like an electrical scooter or something and use that to get to work. It's a little issue where the electricity comes from, but I have two ways. I'm thinking that if the economy picks up, or maybe not, in a few years, if I can manage to save a bit of money, we should try to put some solar panels on our house. And that would be one way of reducing our carbon footprint. We should try to drive to work with an electric scooter. I would like an electric car, but I don't think that's gonna happen. That's too much money. But an electric scooter is kind of okay. And they're not too expensive. But I have to wait a few years because my kids I still drive my kids to school a lot. But I'm thinking if in a few years or a year or so, they'll be on their own, they'll go to school themselves. And at that point, I really don't need to drive the car to work. I can still keep the car, but I'm thinking I could probably reduce my carbon footprint a lot. So if anyone has any suggestions on how further to reduce it, trying to buy solar panels, trying to reduce the footprint by using sort of electrical vehicle, or at least driving to work, because driving to work and to the store is a lot of my travels. And then we go on vacation, of course, but that's still, I actually calculated how much we travel and how our carbon footprint of that, and we can't afford to go flying around the world like some people do. We just can't. We don't have the economy for that. But that's actually a good thing, because our carbon footprint isn't that high because of that. It would be twice as high if we went to like Thailand once a year. So that's a good thing. But we do use some of it by driving on the car and our camper. But that's actually quite a lot less than going flying to Thailand, for instance, or anywhere else. But one thing I actually do currently at this point, we are actually carbon compensating. So each month I invest in basically planting trees in a few different projects around the world, but it's tree planting, and it's not perfect by any means. If you look at the science, it's not a perfect way of compensating carbon footprint, your carbon footprint, but it's a way to do it. It's the best way we know today. Either reduce it or plant trees. So I'm actually planting trees, which covers our carbon exhaust footprint, or whatever you want to call it, carbon gas output. But I'm also and slightly more, and I could actually up that. I could, if I calculated. I like statistics, as you can probably tell. So I did calculate how much we would have to invest. If I double that, it would take me about 27 years to actually compensate for my total life, me and my fiance and our kids, total life life carbon footprint. So if I double it, which I might be able to do in near future because I'm working more and had a higher salary, and it wouldn't be a ton of money per month. If I did that, it would take us 27 years to basically go carbon neutral, which I think is pretty freaking amazing. So I have a chance of not leaving a carbon footprint on my planet. So what I'm doing today is we are actually compensating our carbon footprint as of today. So we are not adding any carbon to the atmosphere that we aren't compensating at this point. So we are carbon neutral, my family. We could reduce that further by using solar power. We could reduce it further by using the cars less, or having cars that run on electricity, or at least some of it running on electricity, or as I said, a scooter that runs on electricity. We could also compensate it by upping our amount of trees we plant, basically. If we double that, which wouldn't be a huge cost for us, or at least for me, then we would further reduce it quite a lot, and we would start compensating for our lifetime carbon emissions. Carbon gas emissions. Carbon gas, did you say that? No. So I have a plan. Actually, I think it's a pretty good plan. I don't know. Actually, I think it should be. Actually, when we started looking at the carbon compensating by planting trees, I was like, I am really scared about the way we're handling our environment, and we have to do something about it, and we have to start making demands, especially on companies. Carbon emissions. So, and I would think that if all the oil companies, let's say, for every gallon of gas they sell, they buy a few trees that compensate what that would be equivalent to, I think we would go quite far, because we need to plant trees. We've cut down a lot of trees in the world, especially in rainforests. So there's no doubt of it, we need to plant trees. And if the oil companies actually, they don't want to do that for some reason, and which I think is kind of weird. They don't want to invest in fossil-free fuels, and they don't want to. It's probably because it's not economically feasible. They want to make money, but the problem is they're running the world into disaster, and we are letting them to run it. We are a part of it. We are also running it into disaster. So, and you would think that it would be really expensive to compensate your carbon emissions. I thought that it was like, oh, this is gonna be so expensive, but it wasn't. If you look at the actual cost of compensating for me and my family, we are 3 people, 2 adults and 2 kids. We have 2 cars. We don't drive an excessive amount of mileage per year, but we drive some. We don't go traveling around with planes because we can't afford that. But if you look at our total emissions, I wonder if I can find that calculations. I'm sorry, this is it's going into something else. Where could I have that? Where could I have it? Let's see, klimat. Here we go. See here. So I'm gonna just put that on here. If I can manage to get it on here. Sorry. Here. I couldn't get that on there. Why can't I get that one? I can still keep getting that one. Okay, so here we go. So this is our climate. My calculation is all in Swedish kronor, but if you say this is the amount of carbon dioxide we release per year from different calculations, and I tried different sources of how to calculate it. So to look at that. So to compensate, the whole household releases about 1812. So 18,000 kilos per year. Come on. And to compensate that, you would need to pay about 4,711 kroners, which would be 393 per month. I pay about 500 or so, 450, so slightly more than that. So I can actually calculate here the amount we used during our lifetime. So, and I was, well, it's a bit on top. So our family has used 513,000 kilos of carbon dioxide during our lifetimes. So by compensating that this year, we'll compensate more than, say, what is that? So this is the amount we will compensate this year. So it will take us quite a few years to compensate. I think this is the amount of years, right? Yeah. So this is the amount of years it will take to what's this? No, maybe this is here. This times. No. I can't. If I continue at this rate, it will never compensate the whole lifetime footprint of carbon in our family. We won't add on to it because we're actually reducing it more than this. But what we'll do is this is what we're compensating. This is how much we're using. So there's an 14,000 kilo per year above what we're actually using. So we're reducing our historical footprint by that each year. But since this is what we have, let's see, it will take us quite a few years to compensate it.
Spelar du in? Kan ta ett sånt där chokladblock?
Jag ska bara spela klart. I kylskåpet längst upp i dörren. So that's why I'm doing it, to compensate for him. Okay, so so we are carbon neutral at this point, but I want to be better, and I want to be even more better, because the more better I am, the more I'm compensating what other people are doing. So if everyone was carbon neutral in the world, it wouldn't. I mean, this is not a lot of money. That's like 40 euros, something, maybe 42 euros. It's not even 42 euros, like 38 euros or something. It's not a lot of money, and this is for the entire family. If we were to travel around the world, that would be higher, of course. So if you go around the world all the time on a plane, you will increase this, but and need to compensate more. But I mean, there's lots of people that probably have a lot less of a footprint than we do. We have a high footprint, considering, I mean, we do use quite a lot of kilos. I mean, the cars here, it's like 6. Längst upp i dörren på kylskåpet.
Ja.
Nej, men då får jag leta. So, I mean, look, this is our food. This is a lot, 9,000 on food. If we were to go even more vegetables, we would reduce this further. That would be good. the interesting thing, I was looking at car, if I were to not drive to work, we wouldn't reduce this a lot. If I took public transport, we wouldn't reduce this quite a lot because I have such a short distance to work. It's about 8 kilometers, so that's why it's hard to. I could reduce it somewhat, but not a lot. So, and these are different calculations, different actual websites that I found to calculate these things. And let's see. This is our surplus. If we were to double the amount we compensate, let's see, 66 times which would be this plus this. So if we reduced it by 47,000, so if we take, see, this divided by this. Nej tack. Nej tack. Va? Jag vill inte ha det. Jag har inte ätit frukost. Nej, jag har. So if I were to double the amount of stuff we compensate for each month, it would take us, well, I guess 11 years to compensate our entire lifetime. That's not a lot. That's not a lot actually at all. I think I'm going to talk to my fiance about this. Maybe that's what I should do. We should do. Spend 10 years, 11 years, and then we have compensated our lifetime. Oh, it continued, like if we say 12, 15 years, we would have compensated more than enough. Because that's not all travels and stuff, probably not included in here. We didn't travel a lot, but I have traveled somewhere around the world, so I did spend some on that. That's interesting, right? So there's tons of things you can do if you just want to, and planting trees is one way of doing it. It's not perfect by any means. It's no one says it's perfect. It will never be perfect, but it's one way of doing it. So I keep ranting about the climate, but I'm thinking if people realize how little stuff they need to change, or how little money they actually need to pay to compensate their destruction of the climate, I mean, it's not a lot of money. I'm so sure for some people it is a lot of money because they own a shitload of stuff, and they travel around the world a lot to work and that sort of stuff. But I mean, that's one thing you could do. If you work at a company and you have to go traveling around the world all the time, then why not say that to your boss? Hey, if I'm going to go running around the world in a plane, you compensate that. For every mile we go in a plane, you compensate that. You buy a tree or whatever the equivalent would be. Run that. I mean, if all the companies in the world did that, compensate the actual amount of destruction they do on the planet. I mean, for a company that's nothing. Most companies could easily afford, they would spend much more money on like coffee probably than this, and so they could easily do that, compensate their impact on the climate. So if you do that, if you're at a company that does that, just put that out there. Hey, why don't we compensate our travels? If you run a transport company, why don't you compensate the travels? Or if you run whatever company you're running or you're at, I mean, UPS, why don't they compensate? Buy trees for every mile they fly and drive around the car. Be carbon neutral. is not very hard. Actually, it's not very hard at all. And it would be, I mean, our generation will be dead before it'll start changing, but if you were to plant trees, I mean, it's not like we're cutting down so much trees around the world. There's plenty of places to plant trees, trust me. And if you reduce the amount of meat you eat, there's plenty of places to, I mean, there's so much things you could do quite easily. So that's my suggestion. I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop ranting about the environment. I think it's important. I'll probably return to this climate compensating thing again, as I have in a totally environmentally friendly way, totally, but almost totally environmental friendly way, have planted this field with oilseed radish. Sorry. Anyway, thank you for watching this channel. I'm Andy. If you like this channel, please subscribe. If you like this episode, please hit the like button, leave a comment or share. And I will see you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.